Have you ever noticed how people are simultaneously drawn to you and yet terrified of what you represent? They orbit around your energy like moths to a flame, craving the calm confidence you radiate, yet they flee the moment they realize you cannot be controlled, conquered, or converted into their version of acceptable. You embody something they've forgotten how to be: authentically powerful, unapologetically independent, and dangerously real in a world addicted to performance and pretense. This isn't coincidence. This is the burden and the blessing of being rare in a sea of replicas. Welcome to Sigma Male Community, where we dive deep into the truths that most men are too afraid to acknowledge and too weak to embrace. Today we're dissecting one of the most profound paradoxes of the Sigma existence: the magnetic pull you create that simultaneously attracts and repels, leaving others confused about whether they want to be near you or run from the mirror you hold up to their own compromises. This isn't about arrogance or superiority. This is about understanding the natural consequence of living with uncompromising authenticity in a world that rewards conformity. We're going to explore 11 fundamental truths about why everyone wants what you have, but why so few can handle what you are. These aren't just observations. They're the philosophical and psychological foundations that separate the wolves from the sheep, the authentic from the performers, and the rare from the common. 1. Loved in secret, rejected in public. The first truth every Sigma man must understand is that your authenticity creates a paradox in others that they cannot resolve. They desperately want to absorb your energy, study your calm rebellion against societal noise, yet publicly maintaining distance becomes their survival strategy. In boardrooms, social gatherings, and even family events, you've witnessed this phenomenon repeatedly. The sideways glances of admiration, the subtle mimicking of your body language, the way conversations shift when you enter a room, followed by the calculated distance they maintain in public spaces. This isn't personal weakness on their part. It's systematic fear of association with someone who threatens the carefully constructed facades they've built their entire identity around. Your presence serves as a walking testament to what it means to live without the desperate need for applause, validation, or social approval, and this creates an uncomfortable cognitive dissonance in people who have sacrificed their authentic selves for acceptance. They consume your essence in private moments, studying how you handle pressure, noting your calm responses to chaos, observing your ability to maintain boundaries without explanation or apology. Yet when the spotlight of social scrutiny appears, they cannot afford to be seen aligning with someone whose very existence challenges the performance-based reality they've committed to living. This secret admiration becomes a form of psychological theft, where they attempt to extract your confidence while simultaneously disowning the principles that created it. Marcus Aurelius understood this dynamic when he wrote about the loneliness of leadership and authentic living, recognizing that those who live by principles rather than popular opinion will always find themselves simultaneously respected and isolated. Your rejection in public spaces isn't evidence of your failure. It's confirmation of your power and proof that your value extends far beyond the superficial marketplace of social approval. The fact that others feel compelled to hide their admiration reveals the depth of your impact and the threat your authenticity poses to systems built on pretense and performance. The truly evolved individuals, those who have moved beyond the need to manage their image for others' comfort, will eventually find you and stand beside you without fear of judgment or social consequence. These are the relationships worth cultivating, bonds forged in mutual respect for authenticity rather than convenience, connections that thrive in both shadow and light because they're built on genuine recognition of character rather than social positioning. Let the others whisper in corners and steal glimpses of your strength while maintaining their public distance. Your path isn't validated by their hesitant applause but by the unwavering integrity you demonstrate regardless of who's watching. 2. Your silence screams louder than their noise. In a culture obsessed with the neon glare of status symbols, follower counts, and hollow recognition, you've made the conscious choice to pursue what the Stoics called the golden currency: silence that breeds clarity, truth that cuts through illusion, and self-respect that cannot be purchased or borrowed from others. This isn't withdrawal from life. It's strategic focus on what actually matters, an understanding that real power doesn't announce itself but demonstrates itself through consistent action and unwavering principles. While others exhaust themselves chasing external validation, you've discovered that the quiet cultivation of inner strength creates a magnetism that no amount of social media performance can replicate. Your commitment to this inward journey creates a paradoxical external result. By not chasing the spotlight, you become the spotlight. Your lack of desperation for attention radiates a quiet confidence that cuts through the performative chaos surrounding you like a sword through silk. High status, for you, isn't a title displayed on your office door or a number beside your social media handle. It's the unwavering dignity in your posture, the certainty in your gaze, and the calm authority in your voice when you choose to speak. This authentic presence speaks volumes in a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, creating an almost gravitational pull toward your centered energy. Epictetus taught that we cannot control external events, only our responses to them, and you've internalized this wisdom to a degree that unsettles those still enslaved by others' opinions. Your silence isn't emptiness. It's the profound fullness of a man who has done the internal work necessary to stand firmly in his own truth. This depth charge of authentic self-possession creates ripples that others feel without understanding, drawing them towards something they've forgotten how to be. They mistake your strategic quietude for antisocial behavior, not recognizing that you're simply operating from a frequency they haven't yet learned to access. The magnetic quality of your presence stems from this fundamental difference in approach. While others perform their worth, you simply embody it. Real recognizes real, and those who have also done the work of authentic self-development are drawn to the signal you emit simply by being yourself. Your silence becomes a form of communication that transcends words, speaking directly to the part of others that remembers what it felt like to be genuine before the world taught them to be performers. This is why your quiet presence often has more impact than their loudest declarations. You're speaking the universal language of authentic power. 3. You protect, you don't possess. The third fundamental truth about your rarity lies in how you approach relationships and loyalty. You understand that genuine strength manifests as fierce protection rather than suffocating control, a distinction lost on most men who confuse jealousy with passion and possession with love. Your approach to those who earn your loyalty is rooted in the Stoic principle that we cannot control others, only ourselves, and any attempt to cage another human being reveals weakness disguised as strength. You protect your peace, your values, and those rare souls who have proven themselves worthy of your trust. But this protection always operates through respect for autonomy rather than fear-based manipulation. This radical approach to relationships disarms those addicted to insecure power plays and dramatic displays of ownership. When others expect jealous tantrums and controlling behavior as proof of investment, your calm confidence and steady presence confuses them deeply. They mistake your strength for detachment, not understanding that your way requires far more courage and security than the desperate clutching they're accustomed to. Your protection is a boundary, a sacred space where only genuine connection can thrive, and it's also a declaration of profound self-worth. You value both yourself and others enough to allow freedom of choice. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the difference between love that liberates and attachment that imprisons, recognizing that true connection can only flourish in an environment where both parties choose to remain rather than feel compelled to stay. Your protection creates this fertile ground where trust and freedom breathe together, where loyalty is earned through consistent character rather than enforced through emotional manipulation. This isn't indifference to outcomes. It's profound confidence in your own value and the strength of bonds forged in authenticity rather than desperation. Your approach to protection reveals itself in how you handle challenges to your relationships. Instead of reacting with possessive fury, you respond with calm assessment and clear boundaries. You don't compete for people. You attract them through the quality of your character and keep them through the consistency of your actions. If someone chooses to leave, you honor that choice while maintaining your standards, understanding that anyone who would abandon something real for something temporary was never truly committed to begin with. This mature, powerful approach to connection is rare in a world filled with men who confuse intensity with depth and drama with passion. For you speak the unspoken, let the bridges burn. Your relationship with truth sets you apart in ways that both attract and terrify others. You possess the rare courage to dissect the elephant in the room, to name the unspoken tension that everyone feels but no one dares acknowledge, to cut through polite lies and comfortable illusions with surgical precision. Your words aren't social lubricant designed to make others comfortable. They're instruments of clarity that expose reality in all its uncomfortable glory. Most people exist on a steady diet of half-truths and convenient fictions, making your raw honesty feel like a shock to their system, like sunlight suddenly flooding a room they've kept dark for years. To those who crave authentic connection and genuine understanding, your directness is pure oxygen. Finally, someone willing to address what everyone else tiptoes around, someone brave enough to say what needs to be said regardless of social consequences. But to those who have built their lives on foundations of pretense and performance, your truth-telling feels like an assault on the carefully constructed reality they've convinced themselves is real. Your clarity forces them to confront the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be, a confrontation most people will do anything to avoid. Yes, this approach burns bridges, and the stoic in you understands that some bridges deserve to burn. Seneca taught that we must be willing to lose what isn't truly ours to begin with, and relationships built on mutual deception or comfortable lies were never real connections anyway. Anyone who flees from your honesty was only ever comfortable in the shallows, hiding behind noise and pretense rather than engaging with the depth of genuine human experience. Your truth-telling isn't cruelty for its own sake. It's integrity in its purest, most disruptive form, designed to clear the fog so that real understanding can take root. The bridges that burn were illusions anyway, smoke and mirrors designed to make shallow connections appear substantial. What remains after your honesty has done its work is solid ground and the rare individuals strong enough to stand on it with you. These are the connections worth preserving, relationships that can withstand the bright light of truth because they're built on authentic foundations rather than convenient fictions. Your willingness to let bridges burn separates the real from the performed, the deep from the superficial, and creates space for the kind of connections that can only exist when both parties are committed to truth over comfort. 5. Your mystery isn't a game, they just don't listen. People often describe you as enigmatic, hard to read, mysterious in ways that frustrate and fascinate them simultaneously, but this perception reveals more about their limitations than your complexity. The truth is that you're not performing mystery, you're simply not performing at all. In a world where everyone broadcasts their every thought, emotion and experience in real time, your deliberate, measured communication feels foreign and intriguing. You speak through consistent actions rather than empty promises, through boundaries held firm rather than explanations constantly offered, through the quiet power of reliability rather than the loud noise of self-promotion. Your communication style reflects the stoic understanding that words should be chosen carefully and actions should speak louder than declarations. You don't overshare because you understand the value of discretion. You don't make grand promises because you prefer to underpromise and overdeliver. You don't explain yourself constantly because you're confident in your choices and comfortable with others' confusion. This depth isn't a puzzle you've deliberately created to manipulate others. It's simply the natural result of a man who has learned to communicate with intention rather than impulse. The challenge others face isn't that you're speaking in code, it's that they've forgotten how to listen to the language of authentic presence. They're so accustomed to surface-level chatter, immediate gratification, and constant validation that your more substantial approach to interaction requires patience and attention they're unpracticed at giving. Your mystery isn't manufactured. It's the natural depth that develops when someone prioritizes substance over spectacle, when they choose to be known through consistent character rather than constant performance. Here's where the friction becomes obvious. They want the idea of your depth, the aesthetic of your mystery, the vibe of your presence, but they lack the patience and attention required to truly understand what lies beneath the surface. They approach you expecting quick answers, immediate access, and instant gratification, then become frustrated when your complexity requires actual investment to understand. This isn't your failure to communicate, it's their failure to develop the listening skills necessary to comprehend someone operating at a different frequency than the noise they're accustomed to navigating. 6. Aura versus reality, they want the filter, not the full picture. The sixth truth reveals the fundamental disconnect between how others perceive you and what they're actually prepared to handle. They fall in love with your aura, the projection of calm confidence and mysterious depth, but struggle when confronted with the reality of your uncompromising standards and non-negotiable boundaries. Your presence creates a magnetic field that draws people in. The way you carry yourself with quiet authority, the sense of untapped depth behind your eyes, the calm that seems unshakable regardless of external chaos. This energy is intoxicating to those starved for authentic power in a world full of performed confidence. However, the rupture point comes when they realize you're not a fantasy to be consumed or a project to be fixed. You're a complete, complex, self-defined individual with your own agenda, standards, and non-negotiable principles. They wanted an accessory to their narrative, a thrilling edge to add excitement to their mundane existence, not a whole human being with expectations, boundaries, and the audacity to remain unchanged by their desires. Your silence isn't vacancy waiting to be filled, it's intentional space that serves specific purposes. Your solitude isn't loneliness seeking remedy, it's sovereignty that you guard carefully. The Stoics understood that most people love the idea of strength more than they love dealing with strong people, and your experience confirms this repeatedly. When faced with your unwavering commitment to your own path, your refusal to dim your light or soften your edges for their comfort, the initial attraction often curdles into confusion, frustration, or retreat. They realize that engaging with you requires them to elevate their own game, to match your intensity and authenticity, a challenge many aren't prepared to accept. You are not an aesthetic to be consumed, a vibe to be borrowed, or a temporary fix for their internal emptiness. You operate as a force of nature on your own terms, and this reality often disappoints those who approached you with unrealistic expectations. The ones who stay, who choose to engage with both your aura and your reality, are the rare individuals capable of appreciating the full spectrum of your being. They don't want to change you or use you, they want to know you, and that distinction makes all the difference between shallow attraction and genuine connection. 7. Taming is not love. Love, for the Sigma male, represents something entirely different from the desperate attachment and control games that most people mistake for romance. You understand that real love requires two complete individuals choosing to walk parallel paths while maintaining their individual sovereignty and strength. You don't fall blindly into love, you walk into it with eyes wide open, maintaining your center and your standards regardless of emotional intensity. This approach terrifies those who equate love with loss of self, who need to feel bigger by making their partner smaller, who confuse possession with passion and control with caring. The moment someone realizes you are fundamentally untamable, that your spirit refuses to be diminished, boxed, or eroded for their comfort, panic sets in and the manipulation begins. They deploy guilt trips designed to make you question your boundaries, tests meant to see how much of yourself you'll sacrifice for their approval, conditional affection that appears and disappears based on your willingness to compromise your core values. These tactics reveal their fundamental misunderstanding of what you represent and what real love requires: the courage to love someone as they are rather than as a project to be reformed. Epictetus taught that we cannot change others, only ourselves, and you've internalized this wisdom so deeply that attempts to tame you feel not just futile but offensive. You don't confuse possession with passion because you understand that anything that can be owned was never truly alive to begin with. You are already complete. You don't seek someone to fill your emptiness because you've done the work to eliminate that emptiness. Instead, you seek a partner. Someone who can stand beside you as an equal, who enhances your life through their own completeness rather than their need for completion. Real love, from your perspective, demands mutual respect for autonomy and individual purpose. You love deeply and fiercely but always freely, understanding that loyalty given under duress isn't loyalty at all. You'd rather walk alone in truth than be caged in a counterfeit connection, because you recognize that anything worth having must be chosen freely rather than coerced through manipulation or emotional blackmail. Anyone trying to tame you doesn't want the magnificent wildness of your authentic spirit. They want a manageable pet, and that's a role you'll never play regardless of the consequences. 8. Anti-Bullsht, not antisocial. One of the most common misconceptions about your nature is that your selective social engagement stems from antisocial tendencies, when the reality is far more sophisticated. You're not avoiding people, you're avoiding the draining, meaningless, ego-driven theater that often passes for human interaction in modern society. Your energy operates like a finely tuned instrument, and you refuse to let it be scraped raw by forced laughter at unfunny jokes, hollow small talk that goes nowhere, or emotional vampires who use conversation as a vehicle for their personal drama rather than genuine connection. This conscious curation of your environment and energy represents peak self-awareness and boundary management, not social deficiency. You've learned through experience the steep cost of counterfeit connection, how exhausting it is to pretend enthusiasm for meaningless activities, how draining it becomes to maintain relationships built on convenience rather than genuine compatibility, how soul-crushing it feels to dim your authenticity for others' comfort. Your discernment isn't coldness, it's hard-won wisdom that prioritizes substance over spectacle, depth over distraction. The Stoics understood that our attention and energy are finite resources that must be invested wisely rather than scattered carelessly. Your refusal to waste time on nonsense isn't a rejection of humanity, it's a declaration of your own value and a demand that others bring something meaningful to the table if they want access to your time and energy. People mistake your boundaries for rejection because they're accustomed to relationships based on mutual convenience rather than mutual elevation, comfort rather than growth, entertainment rather than enlightenment. Your selective engagement creates confusion because it forces others to examine what they're actually bringing to interactions beyond their mere presence. Those who resent your standards reveal their own lack of substance, while those who appreciate your boundaries demonstrate their understanding of quality over quantity. You are not here to be easily accessed or emotionally exploited. You're here to engage meaningfully, build authentically, and protect the sacred fire within that allows you to show up powerfully for the people and purposes that truly matter. 9. Rarity is your frequency. Your rarity isn't manufactured or performed. It's the natural resonance that emerges when someone commits to living at a higher frequency than the shallow, chaotic noise that defines most people's daily existence. You've made the conscious choice to refuse lowering your vibration to match the crowd, understanding that this decision comes with both tremendous power and inevitable isolation. This isn't arrogance masquerading as superiority, it's integrity in action, the result of doing the brutal inner work necessary to forge discipline, cultivate deep self-awareness, and build an unshakable inner peace that cannot be disrupted by external chaos. Your presence operates like a tuning fork in a world of discordant noise. It forces others to either resonate at your frequency or reveal their own dissonance through their discomfort. People aren't accustomed to encountering someone who has done the work of authentic self-development, who operates from principles rather than impulses, who maintains their center regardless of external pressure. Your depth, your calm intensity, your refusal to perform for others' entertainment, disrupts their script and challenges their assumptions about how men should behave in social situations. The Stoic philosophers understood that the path of virtue and authenticity would always be a lonely one, not because virtue is inherently isolating, but because so few people are willing to pay the price of admission to that level of consciousness. Your energy carries a price tag that demands honesty, effort, and the courage to examine oneself deeply, qualities that are rare in a culture that rewards surface-level engagement and immediate gratification. Your circle remains small because your frequency is high, and not everyone can or will invest the energy required to match your wavelength. This filtering process works perfectly even when it feels lonely. The noise fades away naturally, leaving space for the genuine connections that can operate at your level of depth and authenticity. Those who are repelled by your frequency weren't meant to be in your orbit anyway, while those who are attracted to it understand intuitively that they've encountered something rare and valuable. Your rarity isn't a burden to be minimized, it's a gift to be honored, both for yourself and for those capable of appreciating what you represent. 10. Your attraction lies in having nothing to prove. In a world frantic for validation, your greatest power lies in the profound stillness of a man who knows his own worth so deeply that external confirmation becomes irrelevant. You don't flex, posture, or scream for attention because you understand that true confidence isn't a performance. It's the quiet hum of someone who has walked through the fire of self-examination and emerged knowing exactly who he is, what he stands for, and what he's capable of achieving. Your masculinity isn't something you perform or defend. It's something you embody through consistent action, unwavering discipline, and an inner compass that points toward truth regardless of popular opinion. This absence of neediness, this complete lack of desperation to be seen or approved, creates a magnetic field that others find irresistible precisely because it's so rare. While others scramble to look successful, desirable, or impressive through external displays, you simply are these things through the accumulated weight of lived experience and hard-won self-respect. Your presence shifts the energy of a room not through volume or theatrics, but through the density of authentic power, the unmistakable aura of someone who has fought battles with himself and won, who carries the scars and strength of internal victories that others can only dream of achieving. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the difference between those who seek to appear virtuous and those who simply live virtuously, and you embody this distinction in every interaction. You don't need a stage because your life is the proof, your character is the evidence, your consistency is the argument that needs no verbal defense. Real recognizes this quiet potency instantly. There's something in the way you move through the world that communicates unshakable self-possession, a fundamental security that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or faked. The loud ones exhaust themselves trying to manufacture what you naturally radiate through authentic self-development and inner work. Your value doesn't require a billboard or a sales pitch because it speaks for itself through your actions, your boundaries, your calm responses to chaos, and your ability to remain centered when others lose their minds. This is why your silence often carries more weight than their loudest declarations. You're speaking the universal language of genuine power, a frequency that resonates with anyone who has also done the work of becoming authentically themselves. 11. Addicted to evolution, not validation. The final truth that sets you apart from the masses is your fundamental orientation toward growth rather than approval. Your primary addiction isn't to people's opinions or their validation, but to the relentless, multidimensional evolution of yourself as a man, a mind, and a force in the world. Mental sharpness, emotional mastery, spiritual depth, financial independence, physical strength. These aren't goals you pursue to impress others but obsessions that drive you because you understand that you are fundamentally whole, not seeking completion but expansion. While others crave constant connection to soothe their inner emptiness, you crave the friction that forges a better version of yourself. Your relationship with solitude reveals this addiction most clearly. Where others fear being alone because it forces them to confront who they really are, you choose strategic isolation because it provides the space necessary for deep work, honest self-assessment, and the kind of growth that's impossible in the distraction of constant social engagement. You don't need a warm body to validate your existence. You need partners who can match your velocity, challenge your thinking, and build alongside you in raw honesty. Your standards aren't walls designed to keep people out. They're the foundation upon which you build a life worth living. The Stoics understood that the pursuit of external validation is a form of slavery that keeps men trapped in cycles of reactive behavior, forever dependent on others' opinions for their sense of self-worth. Your addiction to evolution liberates you from this cycle, creating an internal source of satisfaction and motivation that cannot be taken away by others' disapproval or withheld by their conditional acceptance. You choose the fertile ground of quiet growth over the barren noise of distraction, understanding that real progress happens in the spaces between external validation. Let them call you distant, cold, or obsessed with self-improvement. Your focus remains fixed on the horizon, on the man you are becoming through conscious choice and disciplined action. This addiction to evolution rather than external validation is the core code that separates the Sigma from the crowd, the reason you walk alone when necessary and why, when you do connect with others, the impact is seismic. You are the architect of your own destiny, building yourself brick by conscious brick, creating a life that reflects your values rather than others' expectations, and that commitment to authentic self-creation is what makes you truly rare in a world full of copies seeking approval for being average. Brothers, if you've made it this far, you've just experienced something that most men will never understand. A mirror held up to the reality of what it means to live authentically in a world that rewards performance over truth. These 11 truths aren't just observations about Sigma behavior. They're the philosophical foundation stones upon which you can build a life of uncompromising authenticity and genuine power. The friction you feel, the misunderstandings you encounter, the simultaneous attraction and repulsion you create, none of this is evidence that you need to change. It's proof that you're operating at a frequency that most people can sense but few can match. Here's what I need you to understand with crystal clarity. Your rarity isn't a burden to be minimized or a problem to be solved. It's a gift to be honored, both for yourself and for those rare individuals capable of appreciating what you represent. The world needs men who refuse to compromise their principles for popularity, who choose depth over distraction, who protect their energy like the sacred resource it is. The world needs men who understand that real strength comes from self-mastery, not dominance over others, that genuine confidence requires no external validation, and that authentic power whispers while weakness screams. If this message resonated with you, if you felt that recognition deep in your chest, then you've found your tribe here at Sigma Male Community. This isn't just a channel, it's a brotherhood of men committed to the path of authentic self-development, guided by Stoic wisdom and united by the understanding that excellence is a choice, not a destination. The journey we're on together requires courage, discipline, and the willingness to stand alone when necessary, but the rewards, the unshakable self-respect, the magnetic presence, the freedom that comes from living by your own standards, make every challenge worthwhile. Take this knowledge and let it fuel your commitment to the path you've chosen. Don't apologize for your standards, don't explain your boundaries, and don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Instead, use these insights to understand why the friction exists, why the attraction and repulsion happen simultaneously, and why your rarity is exactly what this world needs more of. If you're ready to dive deeper into this journey of authentic masculinity, Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the wisdom that could transform your understanding of yourself and your purpose. Like this video if it spoke to your soul, share it with the men in your life who need to hear this message, and drop a comment telling us which of these 11 truths hit you the hardest. Remember, brothers, you're not for everyone, and that's exactly why you're rare. Stay strong, stay authentic, and I'll see you in the next one.